This episode of the Optimize We podcast is brought to you by Leela Quantum. Use code WE10 at leelaq.com for 10% off your first purchase. You can also go to quantumupgrade.io and use code WE15 at checkout for a 15-day free trial.
We need to find a way on how we can strengthen our biofield and our bodies beforehand. And then if we get sick, we won't get as sick and we'll be healthy way quicker.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. We are not medical professionals and do not provide medical advice. Consult a healthcare provider for any health concerns. Opinions expressed are not a substitute for professional medical guidance.
Welcome to the Optimize We podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay O'Neill, and I'm super excited to kick off this series of interviews and biohacking truths without the BS with you. Hello and welcome to the Optimize We podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay O'Neill, and today we are talking to one of my favorite people from one of my favorite companies, and we are going to demystify this whole world and concept about quantum energy, quantum upgrading, and how you can protect your energy and elevate yourself through this very cute, very sexy device that I wear around, this capsule that I wear around my neck every single day. So welcome to the Optimize Me podcast, Philip. I'm so happy to have you here today.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So now this podcast is completely 100% dedicated to sharing biohacking and longevity truths with no BS. And a lot of people that I've talked to over the course of the last couple of years that I've been wearing this capsule around my neck have really gone after me. And I want to get into the nitty-gritty. I want to get into the research around quantum energy and Leela Q and what you do. But first, I want to get to know you a little bit better. So tell me, where are you from? How did you get into this crazy industry? And what's your mission?
I'm from Germany originally. I was born there, I grew up there, and then I was in the United States in the 90s for about a year, and then went back to Europe, stayed in Ireland and Spain and in Germany. And then 2010, I moved to the US completely with my family. And yeah, I used to work in corporate Europe, in corporate US. I was vice president at T-Mobile International, running 14 countries. In Europe, I was vice president at T-Mobile US. And in parallel to that corporate career, though, I got really into yoga and meditation and various energy healing techniques because in the early 2000s, I had realized that um, I had cut myself off my own intuition and my feelings and emotions, and then I realized it was time to get into that again and find myself again. That was sort of the spark. And yeah, I really got into all of that. I learned a lot about quantum energy, about energy healing. I realized that all the truly gifted healers that can do amazing things, they all work with the quantum field and with specific frequencies. And at some point, that vision was born, to develop products that can help us on that level because while quantum energy is everywhere, it's not really there in a concentrated fashion. Now, that's in a nutshell the story.
So, just like most of us, you are feeling lost in your life, in your health. You are doing the work of the day, right? Working in corporate America. Very much the same as, my story and other people's story of how we happen upon this industry. Now, I've done a lot of meditation and yoga in my life, but I'm still learning. I'm still scratching the surface on quantum energy. I'm also level 2 Reiki certified. So I toe the line between science and woo often in my life, in my daily health practices, my optimization strategies. But quantum energy is not really deep woo. A lot of people think it is, but it's scientifically based. So tell me a little bit more about that because I get a lot of cross-eyed looks and, and question marks when I say, oh, this is a quantum healing capsule that I wear around my neck.
Yeah, most people probably have noticed by now that pretty much everything that's the official narrative is sort of upside down,
Mm.
to put it that way. And that's also the same with this. At core, we're all energy and frequency to begin with, and we're nothing else. Does anyone talk about it? No. And if you talk about it in big corporate, for example, then you're strange, right? Or weird or something like that. And that is changing though, because people ultimately are now waking up to that fundamental truth that we're energy and frequency to begin with. And if we're energy and frequency, then everything is energy and frequency. And then, of course, you can promote changes and bring systems that are out of balance into balance again with frequency. It's it it will be there in like the next 5 years probably, where you don't have to explain it to anyone anymore.
Mm.
That's just the way it goes. And yeah, so how do I explain it? Quantum energy is the energy behind the matter. It's the same energy we have in each of our cells. And it's the fundamental layer of existence. So it's not that it's not there, it's just that we have not trained that muscle anymore, not used that muscle anymore of how we can perceive that energy. People can
Right.
see energy, people can perceive energy. It's just when you're not trained to do that, you can't. But hey, if you don't train to play tennis, you also won't compete in Wimbledon. So it's just as easy as that.
I heard someone recently try to explain quantum energy. I was sitting in the middle of an EES room, and EES is also a crazy technology. But every time I go into this room, I feel itchy, and I can feel the energy for hours upon hours afterwards, and it doesn't feel great. And so I asked the woman who owns the place where I went to, why do I feel like this itchy, kind of unsettled feeling? She said, well, because you're detoxifying. I said, how is it possible that I'm sitting in a room with these screens with squiggly lines and lights and colors on them? And when I leave, I feel like a little bit crazy, like a little, very energized and amped up. Well, the negative ions in my body are being activated so that they can be removed, very similarly to what happens when you detoxify your body with food, right? You're removing all of the impurities, you're supporting your body's natural cellular regeneration. But instead of using food as the energy, you're using quantum energy as the energy. And there's
Yeah,
different frequencies that go along with that. So the frequencies that are in the capsules that are charged with with the little purple balls that are inside, are different from what you'd get in an EES room, right?
100%, and thankfully so. I will not comment on the EES system here publicly, but I'm happy to talk to you about it offline. And
Okay.
what they're doing is completely different. They don't work with quantum energy at all whatsoever. And yeah, so we work with molecular frequency, with etheric frequencies, and any other frequency that you can think of, and with a pure natural quantum field. So you will not feel itchy whatsoever if you use our technology, and you shouldn't, by the way. Yes, you can detox in the beginning if you use a little bit too much of it, but you wouldn't feel itchy.
Mm,
Detox effects show up in a different way. And then all you need to do is drink a little bit of water. But usually you feel actually an energy uplift. That is sort of the first thing that you usually feel. In very rare cases, people get very tired suddenly. That's very rare. But those are usually people that just work way too much and they completely forget how to take care of themselves, how to center themselves, and all of that. And then suddenly this energy reminds them, like you need to just step back and just relax
mm.
for a moment and come back into your body and realize again who you are, and then it normalizes from there. That's usually what you feel instantly. And we can, I don't know. I let you talk because you can ask me questions probably before I go into a direction that you're not even interested in.
Well, I have a million questions, but let's go back to the basics. Have you ever heard of that website, ELI5?
I don't
If you
think so.
if you go to ELI5, I think it's .com or so, it's the whole concept of the website is explain it like I'm five.
Uh-huh.
So if you go to ELI5 and ask, ELI5, I'm gonna actually go bring it up. Yeah, ELI5.
That's a neat
I
idea.
did this a couple weeks ago. So it doesn't really talk about quantum energy. It talks a lot about quantum physics, quantum computing, which in my background, I worked in AI and machine learning for the millisecond crunching of big data applications for automation of advertising, for marketing, for messaging, and for optimization of ad campaigns, essentially, to help get more people to buy more stuff. And with quantum physics and computing and regression analysis, we were able to build some of the first machine learning AI-based technologies. Now, quantum energy is very different from quantum physics, right? So when you look up on ELI5 and you're looking up quantum energy, it doesn't really come up because there's no true experts in quantum energy. Where would we go to learn about quantum energy?
You would probably find a good place in our private Telegram groups
Okay.
where thousands of users of our technology talk about their experiences and what they do and how they think with this technology and how they work with frequencies. I think you would find a lot of knowledge there. You can look up some podcasts with me and with Ian Mitchell and myself, for example, and listen to the podcast that we're recording right now.
Yeah.
I
So
don't think there is a lot
there's
out
not.
there yet, and part of that is because we it's not been the narrative so far, right? And I
Yeah.
think it's just coming into the mainstream, and we will, without a doubt, see frequency medicine be a part of the medicine in the future, right? So it's just the beginnings. It's a new technology. And so from that standpoint, if there's something new out there, when the internet started, you couldn't find a lot about the internet either. And look where we are now.
Yeah, and I mean, you have homework to do though. That you have a lot of work to do, Philip, because there's not a lot of information that's out there. So I tried to be prepared for this podcast, and obviously, I want to have a certain element of surprise too, because I do know a little bit more than most people do about these different biohacking technologies. I am level 2 Reiki certified, so I do know a little bit about frequency and energy. I drink out of a, frequency topped hydrogen water bottle pretty much all day long. I take the code drops from Code Health and I wear this every single day. Now, there are days when I go do yoga or I do something athletic where I'm not wearing it. I leave it at home for the majority of the day. And I have to tell you, I feel different, but I don't know if it's just, you know, in my head or if it's because of the quantum energy that is healing my cells or protecting my cells. I want to believe that it's coming from the quantum energy, but I need a little bit more information because my analytical mind always, is in the background going, Lindsay, really, could that be true? I don't know. So tell me, what is the science behind this and how did you create this amazing magical capsule?
Yeah, so the science is pretty clear actually. So by now we have over 70 different research studies, almost I think around about 50 of those placebo controlled, done in various different testing methods all over the world by various institutes and investigators, usually where you find professors or institutes or labs that say, well, yeah, we can run the study, but I don't think it's gonna work because they are very mainstream usually and have never thought about even that an energy device could promote changes um, to the blood, optimize the heart rate variability or optimize wound healing or cell recovery, things like that, right? It's a completely new paradigm. And then they're very surprised, to say the least,
Mm.
when in randomized double-blind studies, it comes out that it actually is working and it's not random. It works in 100% of the cases. So the science is clear, it's settled at this point. There's no doubt about it. And it's just a matter of, okay, what are you interested in? We could talk about the phenomenal changes in brain waves, right? Where we've proven that and we know this, right? So when you have Wi-Fi signals or 5G,
Mhm.
4G, 3G, your brain waves are stimulated in a very negative way. So they're put in an artificial box, and what happens is that everything that is stress shows up in the brain waves instantly because of that. Now, when you introduce our technology, suddenly these stress factors go away.
Neutralized.
Yes, instantly.
Neutralized.
So you still have the signal there. You can still be on your phone. You can still be on your Zoom call with your Wi-Fi on, but you don't have the stress signal anymore. The same happens with the blood. If you expose yourself to suddenly Wi-Fi, previously you were in a Wi-Fi free environment, you see the blood clot. Usually
Mm.
you go into stage one and stage two of blood clotting relatively quickly. Your white blood
Wow.
cells tend to get paralyzed. And then no wonder you turn on the technology, the Leela Quantum technology or the quantum upgrade, and then within minutes you see that all of that reverses.
Hmm.
Literally, you have declotting of the blood, the white blood cells are activated again. You even see decreases in parasitic load and things like that in the blood. So it's phenomenal because it's completely non-invasive. It doesn't have any side effects, and it's just energy. And why does it work? It works because it interacts with your biofield. Now, we cannot get sick if we don't have it in our field. If we don't
Hmm.
have anything in our field that points to a sickness or would translate into the physical reality into sickness, we wouldn't get sick. And by the way, I'm not saying that even getting sick is a bad thing. Sometimes it's actually quite helpful. Some of these
Right.
child diseases can be extremely helpful for development of a child, right? It's not all bad. Sometimes it's good if if we're told we need to step back and relax for 3, 4 days and go through that. But in general, that's how it works, right? And if we don't take care of our biofields, that's our energy bodies, basically. Call it our aura. I like to use the word biofield. Um,
And
then
that's
we're
a that's
missing
a,
out.
I want to stop for a second because that's a really interesting perspective. I actually hadn't thought of it in that way that sometimes we do get sick and we need to get sick, but not just because we need a break or we're doing too much or we're, even as children, I've got three little girls that are my own and a stepdaughter, and they sometimes do get sick, but it's not because they're run down or they're, working 80 hours a week. I mean, they are little energetic beings, but they also do need to build a strong foundation. And so a lot of times, I think what I do feel in terms of like a detox is actually because these children and most of us were born into a digital age. And so we have, since we've been in utero, we've been bombarded with these negative frequencies, like the EMFs and the EMRs that you're talking about, which are massively disrupting. And there's tons of, there's probably thousands of research studies on the impacts of EMFs and EMRs. And you can't open Instagram without getting a million ads for stickers that you put on your phone or things that you wear on your head or, devices that you plug into your home. But one of the things that I found is that when my body gets sick, it's actually a sign that I am detoxing. And that's a good thing. To your point, it's a good thing that I'm getting less used to all of the crap that I'm getting bombarded with all of the time. And so my body is healing because it is in a different energetic state. I am supporting my biofield. I am enhancing my body's natural ability to heal itself through different things that I'm doing, including wearing this capsule every day. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to really hone in on that point because a lot of parents, they'll here's Motrin. Oh, you've got a fever, here's Tylenol. Here's, you know, this over-the-counter medication. Here's this prescription medication. And what we're doing is actually gunking up the system more and really not giving our body the ability to be sick, which is okay.
Correct. Well, that is the one thing, and then the other thing really is we need to find a way on how we can strengthen our biofield and our bodies beforehand. And then if we
Mm,
get sick, we won't get as sick and we'll be healthy way quicker. But it's electromagnetic fields on one hand, it's blue light on the other hand. Those are, and then certainly we have food and what's our beverage intake. I think those, and then the air, right? Those are all connected, and it's the great poisoning that's going on. And I don't want to blame
mm,
it on anyone. I can only blame it on ourselves because if we don't pay attention and don't try to mitigate these things and combat that, then it's our own fault, right?
yeah,
And so blue light is really bad, not only for the eyes, but for the whole body,
yeah,
because it messes with the melanin levels in the body, and those are photoreceptors basically that acts as taking in light and converting it into our life force energy. So if that's messed with, then we get the electromagnetic fields, which messes with our biofield and messes with our brain waves, with our blood, with everything. All of that combined. And on top of that, I eat bad food. And not if I eat it once, if I eat an ice cream today, I'm totally fine. I can tell you, I ate ice cream last night and it was amazing, but I rarely ever do it. It's if you eat more and more, if you eat it on a regular basis, you build all that stuff up and then you don't have the chance to get rid of it anymore. So,
yeah. You have a strong foundation, just like, most of us who have transformed our diet and our lifestyle have set up a strong foundation. And so a lot of
correct.
people who have not spent the time, energy, effort, or money to do that are going to end up spending more time, energy, effort, and more money on the
Yes.
other side of it, on the illness side, because it's really important. A lot of traditional medical providers talk about preventative care. And preventative care really just means eating better, moving more, and, ideally putting yourself into a better mindset. But that's the traditional side of it. Now we have all of this cool stuff at our disposal, at our fingertips, that can help us do that at a greater scale. So like where we used to have a foundation that was maybe, 10 levels high, now we're setting our foundation at level 100 so that if something comes in, a big flu, a virus, you know, a war on our food systems, we will be, or if we just want to go out for ice cream with our kids, we won't have that impact where we're going back down to that basement level. We're not starting from scratch anymore. We're getting knocked down to maybe level 90, and then we just build it back up again because we're not bombarding our system. So tell me a little bit more about these purple balls. So I have a brand new one that you sent me that we're giving away in a giveaway in Women's Health Magazine right now, which is really exciting. So this is the smaller one. This is the petite. It's so cute. I love
Hmm.
it. And it
It's the
comes
Heal
with
360 capsule petite. Yep.
Heal 360 Capsule Petite. So it comes with these charged purple balls that are in here. Now I'm,
Correct.
I'm okay to touch them, right?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if anybody can see them if you're going to watch this on YouTube, but these purple balls are charged. They're titanium.
Yeah, they're medical grade titanium, so
Okay.
they're perfectly fine to touch and to have around. And then on top of that, they hold quantum energy really, really well. And they're charged with just pure quantum energy. So we super concentrate this energy into these titanium beads. And then you put them inside this little capsule. And the capsule itself is, while it's also charged with quantum energy, you have the specific frequencies in there. So the frequencies that literally stimulate um, a positive effect on your emotional, energetic, and physical level. I don't want to use the word healing, so I just need to be careful with that. That's reserved for the pharmaceutical industry, and not for us. And so
Too
once
bad.
you place the beads inside, what happens is that the frequencies that are in the capsule are boosted out because the beads act like a booster. So have basically a 2 meter field, more or less, and if you wear it then around your neck like you do, then you have it in your biofield. And then your biofield can act and react and leverage these frequencies. And so again, this capsule is meant to support you in all those levels. So everything that's out of balance and where you need recovery, for example, it helps you to get there way quicker. And usually people feel that relatively quickly.
I felt it pretty much immediately. Again, I thought, oh, well, it's probably just in my head. The mind is a powerful thing. But I always tell this anecdotal story about um, a couple of things. So when you feel like you're run down, and a lot of people do get sick, and they're really sick, and they're chronically ill, it's really hard to have faith in anything. It's hard to have faith in God. It's hard to have faith in yourself. It's hard to have faith that any of this stuff is even real because you just feel awful. And for many years of my life, I felt really awful and I was really sick. And then just as I got better, my daughter started to get sick. I was hit by a car when I was pregnant with my daughter. And when I heard this anecdotal story, it really resonated because a lot of our energy comes from our mother. And so the story goes, there's these two babies, there's twin babies that are in utero, and they're having this conversation. And one baby says to the other baby, baby number one says to baby number two, I'm so excited for what comes next after delivery. And baby number two says, there's nothing after delivery. It's dark in here, and nobody's ever come back and told us what's going on after delivery. And baby number one says, well, I believe that there's a mother out there and that mother will take care of us. I believe that there's lots of light and beautiful energy and sounds and colors and smells. And baby number two is just sitting there shaking their head saying, but you've never seen this. How do you know that there's a mother? How do you know that there's a world beyond this? You can't possibly know. And baby number one says, well, I guess we'll see after delivery. And baby number two says, there won't be anything after delivery. And a lot of us are like baby number two because we can't see it, because we haven't experienced it firsthand. We don't believe that these things exist. But baby number one obviously is right. There is life after delivery, and for many of us, we believe that's when life begins, is when you're born. So I love that story because it does help to explain the inexplicable. And because there isn't so much information out there, because this is a fairly new, it's not a discovery. We've always been energetic beings, but it's a fairly new application of it. It's a fairly new way of looking at this. And it's listen, I went to FIT. I'm a fashion major. I love this capsule because it's not only very it goes with all of my outfits perfectly. And the little one, both capsules come with both the petite and the regular 360 capsule come with both the gold chain that I wear almost every day as well as a black leather chain that you can use more if you're guys would probably wear this more often than women would, and then but you also have these other cool technologies. So I want to get to that too, because one thing that I found, I was with a woman who had really bad tendonitis in
Mhm.
her arm and then also in her hand, carpal tunnel in her hand, and she couldn't write and she was in pain all the time. And she dragged me over to your booth the first time I met you, and she put her hand into this box, into this cube looking thing. And she said, Lindsay, I have suffered with this for over 25 years. And within 10 minutes of putting my hand in here, I feel no pain.
Mhm.
And now, every story is different. That was a massively transformative story that I heard that day. And then she bought me this capsule.
That's awesome. What a great story. Yeah. You know, to me that's always wonderful to hear. And we've heard such stories a lot, and it also makes total sense to us. Mm, what happens is that on an energetic level, really, she must have had something that you couldn't solve in a physical way, right?
Mm,
So, and there's various degrees and options of what could be behind something like that, or that it needs a certain energetic boost to bring things in motion. We've had people with 6 years of severe knee pain putting their knee in the in an infinity block, and then after 10 minutes it was gone and never came back. So it's not the first time, but it doesn't happen in all cases because everyone is a little bit different. And the pain is different, and the reason why you have it. Now, the products we have, some of those are these frequency products, like the capsule, like the water bottle, for example, that contains the same frequency set. We have clothing, EMF blocking clothing, like the quantum jacket, underwear for women and for men that literally block EMF, but it's EMF protective plus, basically, because it is also charged with the Heal 360 frequency, which gives you another layer of comfort and support. And then it's the blocks, right? And the blocks are certainly, that's the extension of our technology that you just described. That's this cube-looking box that you refer to. It's called the blocks, either the super block, the infinity block, or the little travel block. And indeed, they're like quantum energy generators, you could say. So they
mm,
have a multi-dimensional quantum space inside. So they're very different from this capsule, for example. The capsule can help on a lot of levels, but what the blocks are able to do just goes way beyond that. And so you can copy frequencies within that. You can structure your water, and then people put all of their foods in there. I mean, we have thousands of people that have these blocks sitting in their kitchen, so that they can infuse their food before they eat it. There has been quite some research in that regard, and the Moto Institute looked into what happens with the water if you infuse it in the block. So there's so much research out there that it's beneficial. Plus, if you just put it in your home, it has a large field and it harmonizes the whole space, including the EMFs. It does have a positive impact on your melanin levels. Keyword blue light
right.
messes with melanin.
Melanin.
Our technology supports the melanin in the body. So yeah, that's just in a nutshell what it does. There's a lot more to it, but I know we don't have endless time today, so I try to keep it brief.
Well, I love the products, and I've heard from dozens of people, if not hundreds of people that wearing either the capsule or use the block at home. Um, I didn't even know you had underwear. That's pretty cool because a lot of what I've been researching lately is around hormones as you get older. I'm in my 40s now, so I have to again like get ahead of the curve in terms of my hormone balancing, and I know for a fact, based off of all the research that I've read, that these negative frequencies are massively disruptive to your hormones. and can wreak havoc on your hormone levels, especially in women. So that's an exciting product that I didn't know about until just now. But tell me a little bit more about like how it's actually created. Like how do you get the frequency into the box? How do you get the frequency into the purple balls that are inside of the capsule? How does it work?
So the initial charging we don't share. We have not shared that with anyone, and I will not share it with you either because that's like giving up your secret recipe. And it took us a lot of time and effort and skills in order to figure out what we're doing there and how the method actually works. Now, to get a frequency into a saline solution or into metal or whatever, everyone that has a block can do that. So that's why
Mm,
the Telegram group is probably also so interesting. And a lot of people don't know that, but you can copy each and every frequency that you want and put it into any object that you want. Whether you want to have it in a credit card, in a silver coin, or in water, you just put, let's say you want the frequency of your favorite healing plant in water. Okay. So then you take a glass of water and put a piece, it just needs to be a tiny piece of your favorite healing plant into the block together. And within, depending which block it is, it takes about 30 to 45 seconds. And then the frequency is in the water and you can drink it. And literally, you're drinking then the frequency of that healing plant. That is
wow.
exactly what's happening. And if you want a more stable vibration somewhere because out of water, energy goes out after several minutes unless you use something like a saline solution or something like that, then it would stay in there for a very long time. You could also use a metal carrier, for example, like a card or a little silver coin, and you can put your favorite healing plant frequency in there and put it in your pocket. All those things people can do once you have a block.
So these blocks range in price from $888 to $14.99. Is that the most expensive? No,
I think we're
the
at
Infinity.
1750 more or less for the super block.
Oh, for the super block. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
noticed that.
the largest version and also the most powerful one. But yeah, that's about the price range. And the smaller one is the one that you can easily travel with. You can put it in your car, you can take it in a restaurant. Yeah,
That's amazing. So now, how long does it last? Like I've
forever.
been wearing this for a year and a half, and I feel like I've really put these balls to work with all of the things I've gone through in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't melted.
Yeah, so and that one of the good things about how we do this is that it's unlike a crystal. A crystal, if you wear it over time, it takes on energies, and you will see over time that the vibration of the crystal isn't as powerful anymore, and it actually really dampens until it's almost dormant, right?
Mm,
You can actually feel that quite well with crystals. And with our technology, you could clear up that crystal within just a minute, completely bring out the full potential again. And with the capsules, for example, they're sort of sealed, so they don't take
mm,
on external energies. That's why they keep their own energy and frequency pretty much forever. So you literally have to destroy the material to get it out. And I don't know, maybe we'll have 6G, 7G, and 8G at some point, and then maybe
yeah.
the energy will go out quicker. But for now, we can estimate a good 300 years that the energy will stay in the middle.
And now, so this is something I can pass down to my children. Um, so it's not taking on my energy, which is really interesting. So I could share it
Yes.
with someone too, if I'm walking around with my capsule and someone's having a really bad day or feeling really sick, I can kind of just put it on them, right? And it will help them as well.
Correct. Yes, you can do that, and then there's no problem of getting it back. In addition, after a year and a half, for example, it's normal that we will have upgraded our capsules already. We constantly see that we can make them even more powerful and even better. So after a year and a half, for some people, they want to buy a new one or they find us at some of the conferences and then they can put their capsule into the super block, for example, the latest version, and then just upgrade it there for free. So yeah, that's always a possibility.
That's very cool. So all of these products are at Leela, Leela Q, the letter Q.com. But I would be remiss if we didn't at least spend a few minutes talking about this new technology. Well, it's really not new technology, it's a new way of sharing this energy with people. So tell me a little bit about the quantum upgrade. How did you come up with this? And I mean, and how do you tell people about this without them thinking that you're absolutely crazy?
I don't have a problem with that, first of all. So I think
Good.
that's a good thing.
Good.
And second of all, there's overwhelming evidence by now. It's so overwhelming. It's crazy. And it's for me always nice to see when these investigators and the studies, just like recently in December, there was a brainwave study done with a quantum upgrade. And one of the experts in Europe are running EEG devices was operating this EEG, which is the most advanced one in Europe that they happen to have there in this institute, and they thought it couldn't work, right? So they
Mm,
had people tested with 5G calls, and then our technology was turned on. And when it was turned on the first time, she literally saw it on her screen coming on because she was measuring the brainwaves, right? And that second, she knew it's working. Everyone else in that institute still needed a second test person and then a third one to be like, wow, this really works each and every time. She knew it right that second because, it there wasn't anything else impacting the brain waves than other than the quantum upgrade, and it's phenomenal. So you can book a customized quantum field for yourself or for your pet or for your children or for your home and location, for example, even for your business, and you can 100% control it yourself. So we have an analog technology where we place your a link to you, when we talk about you, for example, into our system. That would be a unique identifier. It could be a picture of you, for example, that would uniquely identify you, but we don't use pictures, we use information. So information, it would have to be your full name, your birth date, the city you were born in, the country you live in. That identifies you 100% correctly, and that is placed in the field. And via quantum entanglement, quick reminder for everyone out there, the 22 Nobel Prize for Physics was awarded for work on quantum entanglement. So it's not just some BS that I'm talking about here. This stuff is real.
mm.
We just happen to have figured out exactly how to do it. Whereas I don't know of anyone else that has. And so once you're placed in the field, you have 100% control over it. So on your laptop or your phone, you can say, okay, I want during the daytime a lot of energy. So you can set it on a lot of energy. For the nighttime, you want less energy, which is also recommended because you don't want to be up at night, right? And then you can have specific frequencies that you can book in. So you could, for example, say, okay, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow. So I'll use the Olympic performance frequency or the world champion frequency. For the night, I use the calm and rest frequency as an example. And you can pick and choose and you can make these changes. It's no problem. You're 100% in control. You could even pause it at any time if you wanted to. You just click pause and click update, and then it pauses within 5 minutes. It has a 5 minute lag time. And that's in a nutshell how it works. The the results are remarkable. It's not random, and it works in 100% of the cases. It helps with cell recovery, with faster wound healing. Um, it helps with your blood. It helps you with your heart rate variability. It's indeed quite significant. A lot of world-class athletes are turning to our technology and specifically to the quantum upgrade because you don't have to wear anything, but it
Right.
improves your performance and your recovery. So it's quite significant. And just for people out there, if you want to try this, you can try it for free because we offer a 7-day free trial. You can also use a Yeah, do a 15-day free trial. I have a code. It's Philip15, Philip with one L and two P and then one five, and you can get a 15-day free trial, and it's on quantumupgrade.io, and see for yourself. Be surprised.
And you do this because you can, because the people that I have talked to have felt it immediately. So they didn't think that they would. They were naysayers like most of the world is right now. Oh, that's not going to work. Like baby number two, right? Like there's no life beyond delivery. And the people that I've talked to, and I have to experience it for myself. So I'm going to use Philip Philipp 15 as my
Correct.
code for a free 15-day upgrade in my life, my business. You can even upgrade your car, I saw, to make your car drive better, your pets, and you can give away 15 days for free because you know that people are going to continue because it's addictive. Once you feel the shift in energy, I don't wear this just because I it looks cute and it goes with all of my outfits. I do actually feel a difference when I wear it and when I don't. And I know now because I'm in tuned with my own bioenergetic fields, and I also um, just know myself after being on this planet for 43 years and doing a lot of deep work, while on bed rest and other work to help um, go through life at your highest level and optimize your health. Sometimes because you have to and you're feeling a lot of pain, and sometimes because you want to, because it gets addictive. Once you feel good, you get addicted to feeling good. And so this quantum upgrade technology, quantumupgrade.io, is really interesting. It's very cool. I'd love to hear some of what the athletes are saying.
Yeah, so you can find some of those athletes on Instagram talking about it, and they feel that they get more mental clarity in the moment, that they get more performance out of their body without feeling drained or hurting their body in any way because it's completely non-invasive, and they feel a way faster recovery. So there's a professional motocross rider, for example, who had a terrible accident several months ago, and he
Mhm.
is now so much ahead of schedule on recovery schedule. It's unbelievable. They came to LA to the last conference we were at to visit us there and thanked us for our technology because it's just unbelievable and unheard of. And they know a lot about injuries and they've had such injuries before. There was another rider that in the same week had exactly the same injury and is not using the quantum upgrade, and he's a month behind, right? So
Wow.
that's pretty much the difference you see, and you see real world-class athletes using it. So this is not just some low-level baseball players.
Yeah.
We have the world champion in water skiing who's using the tech, former Olympians, and Misha Tate, even in UFC fighting, is no, that's not a sport that I really watch or follow. It's too violent for me. But I mean, people are always trying to optimize their performance and recovery. That's what it's all about. And what is good for the athletes is actually great for sick people, right? Because the
Mhm.
athletes are figuring this out, but for sick people, of course, you want to improve your recovery and performance as well, right?
Anyone. I mean, really optimizing your health is something that everyone is interested in. They just don't often know where to start. So how do you know that, Blaine McConnell, who's the motocross racer, isn't just doing like hyperbaric and red light therapy and all this other stuff in addition? How do you know that it's this that's working? Obviously, you've done these studies. Um, when you talk to these athletes, are they like taking a few days break recovery? They're like laying in bed and they're just receiving the quantum upgrade? Is that how
Y-
you're testing it?
Yeah, so first of all, Blaine McConnell, he's not the motocross rider. He is
Oh,
actually a former Olympian in bobsled, and he is absolutely incredible in weightlifting and other things. And so that was Noah Viney, the
Noah,
motocross
that's
rider,
right.
and Neely Ross would be the water skier. So they feel it. they feel it, and then they can also see it in their performance. They can see it in their recovery. And then, of course, we've done these studies in placebo-controlled ways so that it's very clear what happens. So, the, especially the studies in regards to ATP production and wound healing, which is cell recovery basically of
Mm.
actual human cells, was done by Dr. Robert Sheaf at the University of Tulsa in randomized double-blind studies. And it was extremely clear that the cell recovery accelerated by 50 to 100% in all of those studies. Um, and there was no other impact. So that you had a control group and you had a treated group, and it's very clear the treated group um, had an acceleration in wound healing, which was significant, a medical breakthrough. It's not just 1% or 2%, which a lot of people would take 2% already, right? But it's no, it's 46.5% to 100% acceleration.
And that is the way to do as a data nerd and a research analyst. That is the way that you look for efficacy, for clinical efficacy. There's a lot of stack technology out there. There's a lot of biohacking gurus and influencers who are talking about like, like look at Brian Johnson. What he does in his day, the average normal person could never do in their day. The way that he's eating his food, preparing his food, exercising, getting, oxygen therapy and light therapy and all of these other things, water, air, he spends about $2 million a year. Now, this is, a couple $100 and it lasts for 300 years. The quantum upgrade, I think, is around 20 to
$35 per month, and that's
35 to
that's the
$50 a month. Yeah.
expensive version. Once you get into family plans, you're going down to like 15, $20 a month. Yeah.
Right. And so it's much more, you listen, you could still stack other stuff because it makes you feel good. You want to cold plunge and or go into a cryotherapy chamber and convert your white fat into brown fat and and feel really good, get your cells all energized. If you want to do lymphatic drainage to help your body detox quicker or PEMF to stimulate, more energy in your body, you can do all of those things too. But this is a great foundational thing that you can kind of set or put on and feel the impacts of it long term.
That is correct. Yeah, I think of it in terms of master keys. You know, someone told me the other days about the master keys. The master keys in regards to supplementation, and then you find in certain areas master keys. You know, if you do that one thing in that area, that gives you the biggest bang and biggest lift, right? And in terms of your biofield, we have the master key with our technology. We really do. So it doesn't interfere with all the other great things you do. You take your supplements, do your exercise. If you like ice bath, go ahead and keep doing that. It's all
Right.
wonderful stuff, right? But you can add to that. That's the message. You shouldn't replace what you're doing and what's working for you with something else.
Yeah, and that this is all about building that foundation and optimizing your health. Now, if you don't want to do this or you still feel like it's nonsense, you don't want to pay for it out of the gates, you can go and do the 15-day free trial that Philip has so graciously given us a code for. And just like he said, you can shut it off and it's off within 5 minutes, right? It has a 5 minute lag time. And people mostly, from what I've read on your website and the people that I've spoken to who have received the quantum upgrade, they feel it pretty much immediately. There's
Yep.
not much of a lag time at all,
Yep. That is
which is
very
very
true.
cool.
And then there are some people that say, "Oh, it's hard for me to feel." And then, maybe they want to crank it up all the way at night and then see if they can sleep. They may not be able to, and then they'll realize it.
I want to
Yeah.
have some quantum energy dreams. I don't know. But that is a good test. I mean, listen, it's it's something worth trying. I think especially if you are chronically ill or if you're going through some sort of acute issue right now and you need support while you're recovering, why not? Why not try it? It's free to try. And if you don't feel it, no harm, no foul. If you feel it, then it's right for you. But I know that personally, I wouldn't have you on this podcast because I've had many other people apply to be on this podcast and I have actually had to turn them away. So I would not have you on this podcast if my own personal experience did not justify the fact that this works. So
Thanks so much for having me on.
I'm so grateful for your partnership and keep keep coming up with new things because everything that you design is beautiful. Everything that you're creating is very powerful and transformative. And this is why we're doing what we're doing, right, Philip? It's not just to create cool stuff and to make a lot of money, it's to actually help people live
Correct.
better longer.
That's the number one goal.
It is always. Well, I appreciate your time on this podcast and all of the hard work that you're doing. And thank you for sharing biohacking truths without the BS. I'm Lindsay O'Neill from the Optimize We podcast, and this is Philip from Leela Quantum. Thank you for joining this week's episode of Optimize We. We loved having you along for the ride. Now, if you want to dive deeper into our guests' insights, be sure to follow them on their socials because trust us, it's worth it. And don't forget to connect with us either. We're at Wellness Eternal _. Stay updated, join the conversation, and be a part of the growing community. Until next time, stay inspired, stay optimizing, and we'll catch you in the next episode.